Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to the Better Man Podcast. Today we have Anthony O'Leary here. He has a very inspirational, transformational story that we're going to talk about. So, Anthony, thank you for being here.
Happy to join. It's a lot of fun every time.
Yeah. So, right off, can you just tell people the start of your health journey, how much you weighed and just how much you weigh now?
So before I started with Manflow Yoga or really any fitness in general, I was pushing 300 pounds. I was a big boy. I have not ever had any formal fitness regimen my pretty much entire adult life until I turned 29, and then COVID hit. Um,
Hmm.
I was I was furloughed from my job, so I wasn't unemployed, but I wasn't working. And
Yeah.
I had all this extra time on my hands that I didn't before. And I vividly remember the first month I had just played video games like nonstop, and I was sitting
I
on
mean,
the
that makes
couch.
sense to me.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I had nothing else going on. Essentially, I was getting paid, so I didn't have to stress. And it was one of those things where I was like, I could sit here and play video games for the next however long, and I'll be 400 pounds before I know it, or I could do something different. And that was kind of really the initial motivation on my end. I had done P90X a long time ago in college, on and
Hmm.
off. I tried a few different things here and there, but nothing really ever stuck. So I knew I kind of wanted to try yoga because it was low impact, and that's kind of how I found you.
Hmm.
Um, and then again, I had nothing else to do, so I dove right into fitness, and here we are. I don't know, 4 years later. I was probably at my heaviest, like 275, 280. And now I'm sitting comfortable probably around 215 ish.
Hmm.
I'd love to get down to 195, but that's I can't like food for that. So
Yeah. I mean, we've got plenty of people in our community who have not given up, the pleasures of food. And they're like, you know what? I could lose a bit more weight, but I'm happy where I am and I get to eat cake. So, you know,
that's pretty
uh,
much where I am. But
yeah,
one of my initial fitness goals when I first started was to get under
I'm not
200
there.
pounds. I don't have a conscious memory of being an adult under 200 pounds. I mean, I was a size 38 waist in pants since I was
Mhm.
14.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'11", 6 feet.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I mean, 85 pounds that's huge. I
So
mean,
it's a hefty, hefty, hefty drop.
excuse the pun, but that's like, you know, so, and, so I'm curious for you. Let's go back to like that oh shit moment when you realized, okay, if I keep this up, I'm gonna be 400 pounds. And just walk me through what you were thinking, and then what you decided to do about it.
It's funny because I literally have a vivid memory of my oh shit moment. I was sitting on the
Mm.
couch with a Nintendo Switch playing a video game, and my dog was like running around the house being a nuisance, even though he wasn't. He was excited, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, "Can you chill out? Can you calm down?" And I don't even know where the inspiration struck from, but I just looked at him. And I was like, "You need more exercise. That's why you're going crazy. I need more
Mm.
exercise. That's why I'm going crazy." And I started initially. I wanted something low impact because again, I had no formal fitness training. My parents didn't exercise when I was a kid. Like I had nothing to go
Hmm.
on. So I was just like, oh, I'll just walk the dog more. And I got up to, I think, probably 10 miles a day for a big chunk of time. And
10 miles a day?
10 miles, I would do like
That's a
4 or 5
lot.
in the morning and then 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Um, one of the,
Wow.
yeah, it was a lot. And that's
That's a lot of walk. I mean, that's like, was that 3 hours of walking? How much is that?
probably 3 to 4. It would be less
Jeez.
for me now, but back then it was hefty. And it started initially as like, okay, I need to do something. Let's do this. And the dog needs more exercise, but then 10 miles a day got to be too much for him. Which I have a husky, so I
Oh,
didn't even
wow.
think that would be a problem. But he literally collapsed in a parking lot and was like, "I'm done. I'm not moving," and I had to carry him. So I needed
That's a
something.
very husky thing to do, I hear.
Oh yeah, the attitude is
Yeah.
strong with this one. But yeah, I mean that was kind of the kickoff point where it was I need to do something else for myself, otherwise it's not going to work. And again, I started with yoga, and it was something that I really enjoyed and dove right into.
Mhm.
And it was kind of just a snowball from there because I figured out that I actually like exercising, which who knew?
So what did you notice? I mean, within the I mean, you're walking that much. I'm just curious. So for your first month, like, what did you go through
So
in terms of the
I think
struggles,
all
but
of it
also in
probably was
terms of
motivating me because I
what were the
dropped like
benefits that you
25 pounds
noticed?
in that first month
Mhm.
just with the straight walking. Because again, I had
Wow.
no formal fitness, didn't do anything, no exercise, nothing. And
Mm.
so it was really encouraging to have the weight fall off so quickly. Like, oh, I can do this. This is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Um, but then it ended up being a little too drastic. And it's kind of, I didn't know this ahead of time, but when you lose weight quickly, it's the same as if you gain weight quickly. Like your body processes need time to catch up.
Yeah.
So I started losing all my hair. I want to say this,
Oh
but
my
I looked like
gosh.
a cancer patient. I had patches coming out of my head
Wow,
because
that's wild.
the rapid loss of fat interrupts the hair growth cycle. So I knew I needed to do something different after that. But during I mean, I didn't think it was that bad. Realistically, I wasn't running or anything. It was just walking, which is pretty easy to do
Yeah.
for most people. So
Yeah. I mean, even walking that much, did you even change your diet at that point?
there you go. Sorry, say that again.
You're good. So even walking that much, did you change your diet at that point? Or did you
No,
change
I didn't.
anything
I didn't
other
do
than the walking?
anything. I didn't do anything except start walking. So one small little thing that I could do that I was already doing. I mean, before I was walking, I walked him probably like a half mile at a time, which was like
Hmm.
20 minutes twice a day.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, you're done to the bathroom. Let's go back home.
Mm,
But
gotcha.
yeah, I
And
mean,
you live in the city, so you can't just walk right outside. Or what? Do you
no,
live in the city,
so
right?
I'm close to the city. I'm in New England, but
Okay,
my neighborhood's very walkable. I live right in downtown
got it.
in my town. There's like parks nearby and stuff, so it wasn't difficult at all to get out more.
Yeah, gotcha. So you lost 25 pounds
Yep.
in 1 month just by walking. You had too much weight loss, so your body went through its like weight loss shock
Yep.
episode, and then you decided that you wanted to do low impact exercise, found manful yoga, and you enjoyed it. That's so. What did as somebody, so for someone who doesn't work out right now and might look at exercise as something that's, you know, really challenging, or maybe they don't want to do it, how did you go from, okay, I don't exercise at all to, oh, I actually like exercising? What aspects of it did you like?
I think a lot of my early success was in part due to the immediate physical change I could see because you drop 25 pounds, you're going to see it. Um,
Yeah.
Learning to enjoy it wasn't really something that I struggled with, if that makes sense. I
Okay.
mean, it was kind of one of those like, I'd never done it, so let's try it and see how it is. And oh, I like it. Let's keep doing it.
Mm,
But if you've never done exercise, and again, in my case where I had no formal exercise training, it can be definitely overwhelming. Like, where do you start? What do you
mhm.
do? How do you know how to do these things? Um, Really, I think the enjoyment part is the crucial aspect because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you like about, I guess, how long did it take you to notice the results from Manflow yoga? So doing that consistently, what were some of the benefits that you noticed relatively quickly or early on?
Coming from being so overweight and having lost the weight quickly and then finding yoga to help strengthen the muscles that I was newly discovering, I think the flexibility that I could attain relatively quickly was quite a surprise. I mean,
Mm,
I'd never been able to touch my toes, and I think within like the first 3 months, not even, I was doing forward folds, not as nice and deep as I would like, but at the time it was like, wow, I can do this now. This is so cool. And it was kind of those little moments of like, oh, I can do this now, and oh, hey, this doesn't hurt. And I would wake up and get out of bed, and then oh, I don't feel tired still. What happened? It was kind
mm,
of like an amalgamation of little things in that sense.
okay.
I mean, as far as enjoyment goes, like I enjoy the muscle burn of physical activity, which I
Yeah.
just had never experienced it, so it was easy to say like, oh, this is good, let's do it.
Yeah. Got it. That's cool. So those first few months, were you doing it every day? Were you doing
Every
every other
every
day?
day,
Every day.
5 days a week with the Strength Foundations Challenge, my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think
It's
that
a good way to
first
start.
weeks, yeah, well, because you do the 6 week challenge, and I was
Yeah.
religious about it because I wasn't working and I had nothing else to do. So I was like, all right, there's no excuse, like get it done. But
Hmm.
after I think the first couple weeks, I was looking forward to it because it was just, I mean, they're half an hour. It's not intense enough.
Yeah.
I was really worried, like, oh, I can do half an hour. You can watch an episode on Netflix. You can sit down for half an hour and move your body.
Hmm. Yeah. So what allowed you to be consistent? Were there strategies that you employed? Were there, what do you think enabled you to be that consistent 5 days a week?
I think having the program structure that Manflow Yoga provides is really the best thing. Um, Again, where I had no formal fitness education prior, here's what you need to do, here's how you do it, and then all that was left was to do it. Setting up the structure ahead of time with the program was so easy to follow because I didn't have to think about it. And even now, like with my weight training and stuff, if I have to like sit and plan my workouts, it just becomes so much more overwhelming in that sense where I just want to
Hmm.
look at it and see what I'm to do, and then I'll do it. It's just easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like, some people are surprised when I tell them that I have a trainer because I don't want to make my own workouts. Like, I
Yep.
have so many other, I'm making all these other workouts and programs. So like, I don't have enough brain power to be able to do that. So removing that step and knowing what workout you're going to do and just dedicating your energy to the workout itself rather than the planning of it, I think that's huge. So when you were going to do your, let's say, I want you to go to a situation where you don't really want to do your workout, but you motivate yourself to do it anyways. And what is it that allows you to motivate yourself, or what do you tell yourself in those situations?
I think it depends on the situation because I mean, in general, motivation isn't really something I struggle with these days.
Hmm.
Initially, it was kind of, I don't want to say it doesn't play a part at all, but I don't. Fitness isn't really an obligation to me anymore. I feel like that's a big barrier for a lot of people. Like, oh, I have to exercise, or but why? What is the why you have to? Who's telling you
Hmm.
that, and why do you struggle with it? So for me, it was kind of, why do I want to exercise? Well, I like how I feel after I exercise. The endorphins, all the movement. Like I've never not done a workout and been thankful I didn't. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah,
oh, I don't really feel, I'm
absolutely.
tired this morning. I don't want to go. It's a little late. And then,
Yeah,
you know what? Go. You've been going 4 days a week for 4 years. Like, figure it out. Go. It's more
yeah.
discipline at that point. And then you show up, and I've never had a bad workout. Like, I've never finished a workout and been like, oh, that was terrible. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah. So take me back to when you were first getting started though, and you got, let's say you're 3 weeks in or 4 weeks into strength foundations, because that's like, okay, I'm in it now, right? And it's
Yeah.
getting tough and you're getting all that soreness is starting to mount up. What was your motivation to keep doing it at that point? What did you tell yourself?
When I first started, I was not happy with my body. I think that's probably
Mm.
a big motivation for a lot of people. You're not happy. You want to change something. Um, and I was seeing results. I mean, you don't, it was more, it was pretty negative, honestly. A lot of negative self-talk. Like, you don't want to be fat and overweight for your whole life. You don't want to be struggling with these things. Like, get up and do it. You need to do it.
Yeah.
Which,
You're using the dark side
yeah,
initially.
right. And I think that was something too that I learned to kind of harness because
Hmm.
you can sit there and tell yourself negative things all the time, but that's not necessarily productive. So,
Yeah.
initially it was, I don't want to be fat and overweight my whole life. And then it kind of turned into, even as early as the 3 weeks. I mean, once I started enjoying it and seeing the results, it was more of, I like this, I want to keep going. And it kind of shifted into more of a positive mindset versus putting myself down to say, you have to do it or you're going to end up fat and overweight your whole life.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. That's good to know. I think that's really helpful for people who are just starting out and understanding, okay, how do I motivate myself when it starts to get tough? We've got so many, I hear from so many people who, I just got an email yesterday from a guy. He was actually saying like, hey, can I do the monthly instead of annual membership, because I don't think I'll stick with it. And I replied, I'm like, well, why even buy a monthly membership? Like, if you know you're not going to stick with it. And he said, well, yeah, I just know that I kind of start exercise programs and I stop. And I don't know how much coaching I can do, via email in that situation.
Yeah,
But my thought there is, like, well, let's break that cycle. Let's figure out, what is it that gets in the way of, why do you start a workout program and then you give it up after 2 or 3 weeks? Like, let's change the script there. So
I
I
think
think other people understanding could be helpful.
yeah, I think that's probably one of the most underrated benefits of starting any kind of fitness regimen. I mean, again, for myself, where it came from a place of negativity in that sense, it's learning how to listen to yourself in a positive way that really makes the impact. Because
Hmm.
I don't think I would have had the success that I have if I had been telling myself the whole time, like, you're doing this so you don't be fat. You don't want to look like your
Hmm.
mom. My mother's been overweight my entire life. My dad's not doing so great. I mean, my mom needs her knee replaced. It was kind of those extrinsic motivators that
Yeah.
initially started, but then as you learn how to move and how to adapt and listen to your body, it's more of like, oh, this feels good. Like, I want more of this for myself.
Hmm.
And now I would say probably my motivation is more based in my mental well-being, if that makes sense, because you can't really have one
Yeah.
without the other.
Yeah. So I would imagine that as you started to shift your motivation, that you started to be maybe more excited. I'm putting words in your mouth here, but I would assume that you kind of get more excited about exploring other aspects of health and wellness. Is that
Oh yeah, for sure. No,
is
I
that
mean,
true?
yeah, well, I started with Manful Yoga. I was probably exclusively doing your workouts for about a year. And
Mm,
then I don't want to say it got to the point where I got bored of it, but it was like, what else can I
it's
do? Like,
okay. I'm not offended.
no, but it wasn't even that. It was just more like, okay, I have this newfound strength and, I can move my body in new ways. Like, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And I think at the time you had just launched, you mentioned your trainer, you launched your partnership with Central Athlete. And I was
Okay.
like, yeah, let's do it. And I still am with them today. So
Oh yeah. Oh,
it was,
awesome. I'm
finding
gonna
other
tell them.
things that you enjoy fitness wise is, I think, part of the fun too, because, okay, I can move and bend in ways that I didn't before. Oh, I like skiing. I've never done skiing because I couldn't before, but now, hey, this is a fun activity to do, like
Yeah, that's awesome.
finding different avenues for fitness also is really, I think, crucial to keeping any kind of fitness regimen, because nobody can do the same thing constantly forever.
Hmm. Yeah, and I talk about that a lot. I agree with you. I think people go through different phases with their fitness. There's
Oh,
seasons.
absolutely.
Sometimes you're just going to have lower energy and you're going to be totally fine with doing like mostly yoga, maybe one or two, resistance training sessions a week. And then other times you're going to be like, I'm doing lifting 3 or 4 times a week. I'm going to do yoga twice a day. I'm going to do, you know, all the other supplementary stuff. Like, I'm going to do cold plunging. I'm going to do sauna. I'm going to do it all. And sometimes you're like, you're not, so
Yep.
I think there are phases. So so my next question is, what other, you talked about, going into weightlifting after a year. I'm curious for you, when did you start addressing nutrition, or did you also start addressing, stress management and more mental wellness? And how did doing exercise consistently for a year inspire you to look into other areas?
Um, I think initially I just wanted to see how far I could get. Like, what can I do without any kind of extra help? What can I change that's easy and not going to stress me out? Nutrition
Mhm.
really didn't start playing a factor until probably I started with Central Athlete. It was like, I'm not going to get as far as I want fitness wise unless I can fuel my body appropriately. And I mean, no one wants to admit that they eat like crap, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
for me, it was more, okay, you can still eat the things you enjoy. It's just you have to do it the right way. No more eating at 11 p.m., no more having, 10 pounds of sugar for breakfast with all the stuff that is just prevalent. Healthy
Mhm.
substitutions was an easy fix for me. And I still struggle with a lot of the other aspects too. I mean, stress management is something to this day that I know for a fact would make a huge impact. I mean, my job is very seasonally dependent. So I'm coming into my slow season now for the winter. And seasons of fitness. I mean, during the work year, for me, it's sometimes really hard to get up and go and go and go constantly just because I'm slugging away at work all the day. But I mean, nutrition wise, definitely started. And then once I saw results, like I'm results driven. So when I see it, oh, this is concrete, like it's working, let's keep doing it. Um, but yeah, I mean, nutrition, once I figured it out, once I improved that, started seeing other aspects of improvement in the gym. And then now it's more of a game with myself. It's like, how far can I push myself? How much discipline do I have? I want to see what I can accomplish without
Hmm.
breaking myself, which I think is really another of my struggles. But
Yeah. So it sounds like so it sounds like you made a very manageable, course of changes. You started, okay, I'm going to walk. Okay, now I'm going to do yoga. Okay, now I'm going to do lifting. Okay, now I'll work on nutrition. You didn't try to do everything at once. And I would assume that's one reason why you've been successful.
yeah, I mean, excuse me. I think fitness is people look at fitness as like a goal or like a stop start type of thing, and it's really
Hmm.
more of like a marathon. It's not a sprint. You physically can't do everything all at once. I mean, it's hard enough to juggle life, job, parents, children, all these other things that just kind of crowd in. It's give yourself some space. You can't do everything all at once. And for me, again, to your point where it was one thing at a time, once you practice and get one thing down, it's easy to just keep doing it while you work on the next thing. So it really doesn't feel too much at once in that area.
Yeah. So take me back to nutrition. For people who are, I think for a lot of people, it is a big paradigm shift. It's a big, mm, just really important but unknown piece of information when they learn that, oh, you mean I have to eat well. It's not just exercise related. So when you started making those little changes to your diet, what improvements did you notice within the first, I don't know, couple of months,
Diet
if there
wise,
were?
I mean, I think with the diet, a lot of the changes were more subtle.
Okay.
Um, like my energy levels changed. I don't want to say increased because changed.
Okay.
Um, I mean, first thing in the morning, I never used to eat breakfast, like never. And
Mm,
now, if I don't eat breakfast, it's a noticeable change where like, oh, I'm sluggish, I'm struggling to comprehend, or like my brain's not moving. Oh, because I didn't eat.
mm.
Um, Regular bowel movements, as gross as that sounds, make such a world of
Oh,
difference. I mean,
it's
it's
just
something.
it's a game changer. It's
Yeah,
so much better when you just like you sit down and you poop regularly and then you're like, I'm done, bye, cool.
yeah. You're not thinking about the
Instead of
bathroom all day. You're not running back and forth. You're not. Oh, my stomach hurts all the time. I mean, that's gross to
yeah,
say, but it really does make a big difference.
yeah.
Um, and then I guess in general, eating healthier feels better. I
Mm.
mean, I used to go to McDonald's and my go-to meal was a McDouble, a McChicken, and a 20-piece nugget, and I'd pound it down in like 10 minutes. And then an hour later, I'd be hungry and dying of thirst because of all the sodium. Now, if I want to have a 1,200 calorie meal, it's going to be 5 times the size. Rice bowls. It's. I get excited about this stuff, but for me, nutrition was definitely more of a substitution based approach rather than
Mm.
elimination.
Yeah.
And then over time, it's like I haven't had McDonald's in months. I used to eat that stuff daily just because it was accessible and easy. And now, not that I can't eat it, but I don't feel the need to.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. And you hammered on it, but it's that eating healthy isn't a chore, or it's not like it's not it's not cutting, something good out of your life, because the after effects of eating healthy, it just feels so much better. Okay, you could either have, 5 minutes of pleasure while you're 5 minutes of increased pleasure while you're eating unhealthy food, and then afterwards your stomach hurts, you've got weird poops, your energy sucks, you know or you could have, you could eat healthy food that still tastes good, right? That's still nourishing, that still like
Absolutely.
tastes good as you eat it. But then instead afterwards you're like, oh, like I feel sated, like I feel relatively full. I still have energy. I can go out and, do the things that I want to do. Um, One thing that I've heard about is this kind of this adjustment period though, of like when you do start eating healthy. Did you have some sort of adjustment period where you noticed like, okay, I'm still adjusting, my taste buds are adjusting to eating healthier food, and it's just kind of um it feels like a chore at the moment. Did you have one of those?
Yes and no. So
Okay.
I think, again, before I started any kind of nutrition coaching or fitness in general, with social media and marketing and like all the stuff that gets thrown at us on a day-to-day basis, I always kind of had this image of like, oh, healthy food is bland and boring,
Hmm.
and oh, a salad is healthy. I think learning how to pick apart what is thrown at you and take what you want from it is really an important skill, because a
Hmm.
salad is only so healthy as much as you put on it, because you can drown it in salad dressing and then put, bacon bits and make it a healthy salad, except it's really not. um, Substitution really helped in that sense, where it was, I want potato chips. Okay, well, why do I want potato chips? I want something crunchy. Okay, well, what can I have that's crunchy that's a better choice? And I mean, I used to go through bags and bags and bags of Doritos, and it was the
Hmm.
crunch, because the crunch. I like the crunch, and so now my go-to is I'll snack on like peanuts, honey roasted peanuts. I'll do um, pretzel wafers. Like, it's just healthy is a relative perspective for me. I mean, what's healthy for me might not be healthy for you. It might not be healthy for the next guy.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of adjusting, there definitely was a period where I was like, oh, I want all this junk food. I miss it. I can't have it. Why, And I think also learning portion control was a big deal, because you have all the food in the country. You look on the back, it has the serving size and all the nutritional information, and it's like, okay, well, you can have some potato chips, but just don't eat the whole bag. You can have a piece of cake, but don't eat the whole cake. You can have ice cream, but don't have the whole gallon.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that's a great point. So, were there specific sources of information that you found helpful?
Um, Not in general that comes to mind.
Okay.
I think it was more.
Like, were you reading books? Were you like following people on social media? Were you talking with your coaches, or, was it
Yeah, I
people
mean, a
within the
little bit of all of
community?
that to some extent, but it was, I wouldn't want to point to one thing and be like, this is it. I think
Yeah.
from my perspective, it was more learning the self awareness to sit and, I mean, who looks at food labels regularly without practice,
Yeah.
right? I
I
mean,
do,
so
but I'm
going to the
weird.
supermarket. Well, for me, I didn't ever usually. I mean, oh, I like this. I'm going to buy it, and then come to
Yeah.
find out, I'd look on the back and be like, oh, there's a lot of fat in this, or oh, there's a lot of
Like,
sodium here.
oh, that's why it tastes good.
Right.
Cool.
So it was yes, but no. I guess is my answer.
Okay. Cool. Um, so other question, how helpful has community been for you in the overall health and wellness journey?
I think it's a very, very underrated tool, and so important. Um, Especially for me, again, where I had no formal fitness background. I didn't do any sports in high school. My siblings didn't do sports in high school. My parents didn't have any exercise regimen. I didn't have the people around me to kind of show me how that worked. And then joining, for example, your Facebook group, the Manful Yoga community, it really helped to see like, oh, I'm not the only person that's struggling with this, or oh, I'm not the only person that has this problem. And then, you get all this input, impartial input, really. It's not like these strangers don't have any stake in my wellness.
Right.
So it was like, oh, I didn't think to do that, or oh, let me try this, or oh, that's great that worked for you. Let me see if I can implement that. And then also having the support of the community, going back and saying, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, where somebody can be like, oh, try this. And then you find something new that works for you and you love it.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily think I wouldn't have been successful without a community aspect, but it definitely has helped make it so much more easier.
Yeah, I think that's what the community does. It just makes it easier, and it also just makes it more enjoyable. Like, yes, you could use discipline to get through it, maybe if that's who you are. But having the community, having like this sense of being pulled back into something, and knowing that you have that excitement and you have that support, it makes it easier and it makes it more enjoyable, I think.
Absolutely. And it's also too, I mean, for me, I look at it as you surround yourself with what you want for yourself. So you put a healthy apple in a barrel of rotten apples, the healthy apple is going to rot eventually. You put a healthy apple in a healthy apple bin while the rest of the apples doing the same thing you're doing. It's going to be easier to stay healthy.
I didn't know that about apples. Thank you.
General example, but yes, I mean,
Uh,
for me, where I didn't have that kind of support in the community aspect way, like I just didn't have examples to look at, except for example, social media. You know, you go on social media, everybody's 10-pack abs, huge biceps. They're, oh, you don't do this, don't eat that, and it just kind of is inundating with things
yeah,
to not do versus like here's something that is manageable that works for everybody.
yeah, yeah. Did you? Well, how did your friends react to it? Did you lose friendships over this? Did you have anybody who was like not supportive of it?
I don't think so. Um, I got some comments. It was like, "Oh, what did you do? You look great," and it kind of came off as more like not condescending, but I could tell that it was more like the comments that I did receive came from more of a place of insecurity than
Mm,
they want to take me down a peg. You know,
yeah,
um, I don't want to say I lost. I mean, it's funny because I have a lot of my friends now that are like, "Oh, you look so good." Like I had one of my friends last week. She was like, "Do you want to train me?" And I'm like, "I'm not a trainer. I appreciate the gesture, but like, thank you, but that's not where I'm at."
yeah, that's cool. Um, so, what's the next thing in your health and fitness journey? What's the next challenge? What do you want to work on next? Or what are you working on now?
um, Now my current fitness regimen is not as intense as I would actually like. I would love to get back into doing a little bit more yoga. I mean, coming from when I first started 5, 6 days a week, now I'm lucky if I get 2 or 3. Um, I think my next steps for my fitness is going to be stress reduction and
Mm,
getting back up to the frequency that I like. When I don't do as much yoga as I want, you build up all these little injuries. My elbow hurts and oh, my knee aches. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
well, my knee hurts because my IT band is tight because I haven't done any yoga. Um,
Hmm.
I'm lifting 4 days a week with Central Athlete. I do
Hmm.
pretty much full body strength and conditioning. Um, I keep telling myself I want to get into running, but that I just running
Hmm.
doesn't seem like something I'd be really good at, I guess. But
Hmm.
um, right now I'm taking it slow. I'm not really pushing myself too hard. I wanna recover from my busy season at work, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right now this month it's pretty much just get back into the swing of things. I don't I yoga is the first thing that drops off my regimen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I lift religiously 4 days a week.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that's pretty common. I think a lot of people look at the yoga as a look at me saying the yoga. A lot of people look at yoga as the nice to have, right? Like, oh, I'd feel so
But
much
not
better
strictly, yeah.
if I did. Yeah, but it doesn't see it's not as, if you have an hour like twice a week, then you'd probably go do strength training. But if you have the extra bonus time, then maybe it's yoga. And that's, one type of person, but I think that is a common way to think about yoga though. So that doesn't surprise me. So, um, did I ever tell you that your wife sent me an email?
I think so. This when I was trying to get into the retreat that first time.
Yeah. And it was the first time that I received an email from somebody else telling me about their partner's progress. And I was so caught off guard, like in a good way. I actually started tearing up reading the email because a lot of the time I get emails from people and, they say like, this has really helped me. And I'm like, oh, cool, cool. And I feel good about it. But for some reason, hearing somebody else describe it was just like, it was so powerful for me. So, I mean, she was saying that you're a totally different person. Like you used to be kind of negative and now you're more positive, you're more excited about life. And that was so cool to see. I wish I had the email and I'd read it aloud. No, I wouldn't do that to you
I'd probably
unless you
try to
wanted me
stop.
to. But it was so cool to see that. And then yeah, we got you into the retreat. We made it happen. So that worked out. But
Yeah, it's fine. I
yeah, I
remember.
just wanted to mention that because that
No,
was so cool to.
I remember it happening because she did it. I didn't read the email, but I remember you mentioning it before because
What's her name?
Mandy, my wife's name is Mandy.
Mandy.
I was
Searching
trying.
Mandy.
I had emailed you separately and was like, I want to do this. Like, how can we make this work? And then she emailed you, and I thought I was
Yes.
talking to Jesse, but it was actually you, and just it worked out great, obviously. But I don't
Mhm.
think I would have been as successful without her being in my corner. Let's put it that way.
Can I read it? I found it.
All right, go ahead.
Uh, I wanted to share my personal thanks to you for everything that you've done to help my husband. My husband is Anthony O'Leary. He has had quite a journey over the last few years. I've seen such an improvement in his mood. He's so much happier. Finding Manful Yoga and investing his time into it helped him center himself and jumpstart his fitness adventure. He's lost so much weight and so much negativity. He's dedicated his health and wellness and is truly an inspiration with his journey. He couldn't have done it without the start he got from your programs, and I cannot thank you enough for your part in making my husband a much happier and fulfilled self. Your program is amazing. I love how real and genuine. That's just about me, so we'll skip that. But yeah, it was so cool to see that though. Um, yeah. Anyways, and I got to read it, and hopefully you're crying
My
now.
number one fan.
That's so awesome. It's so awesome to have that support from her. It's really great. Okay, keep it together. We got 5 quick questions. Um, what do you think is one habit, belief, or mindset that has helped you the most in your overall health and wellness?
Be patient. Be patient. That's such an underrated aspect of fitness. Like I said it earlier, it's a marathon, not a sprint. People, again, social media, instant gratification, all these things like, oh, I want it now. But you can't, that's not how fitness works. It took you your whole life to get where you are now. And just because you want to change doesn't mean you can ignore everything you did before. If you want to be fit, it's going to take time and dedication. It's not going to be a 2-week adventure. It's not going to be, you're not going to get a 6-pack abs in 3 months coming from, where I was 300 pounds. It's just not physically doable. And I think learning to sit back and say, okay, I'm working at it and being kind to yourself in that way is really, really important.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. What is one thing that you do for your health that you think is overlooked or undervalued by others?
Taking time for myself, I think, is a skill that I picked up with my fitness journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy for me, especially where I can just sit and run through the mental list of all these activities, and I have to do this, make this phone call, I got to work. It just is a constant refrain in the back of my head. And taking time to sit, and I picked this up with the yoga, with the breathing exercises. Just learning to sit in your body and let go of a lot of that stress has really helped me out a lot.
Yeah. What's the most stressful part of your life?
My job, hands down.
Which part?
The job.
The job?
I'm a
Like the
department.
interactions with other
So
people?
I'm a department of one currently. I handle the entire logistics for all of Canada. So if I don't do it, I have to do it later. And it's gotten to the point where I can't keep up anymore. I can't physically do the amount of work in one day that is required in that one day. I think, and I know this for a fact because now that I'm coming into my slower time of year when I don't have as much going on, I'm still trying to recover from that burnout. When you get to that point where you're so physically exhausted and you can't do the work that you've been able to do before because, it takes me 20 minutes where it took me 2 before. My job.
Okay. All right. I'll be sure to write them a yoga instructor's note to excuse you from, or to get you extra help. I think that's
next year we're getting help. So I'm
good.
I'm happy that's happening, but
that's good to hear.
Yes.
What is the biggest challenge in your fitness right now? I kind of touched on this, but I'll ask again.
Probably my stress, which is related to the job in the sense that cortisol. I mean, not that like being stressed is impacting my fitness directly, but the cortisol, like my body physically being stressed for so long, it
Mm-hmm.
really takes a toll. I mean, sometimes I go do a workout and I'm like, yeah, this is great. I'm killing it. I blow through it. You know, I have a great workout. And other days I'm like, wow, this is really hard. Like, I can't lift the weight I want to lift. I'm struggling to be here.
Mm.
And, you know, I finished the workout and I feel good and I'm glad that I did it. But it's like, wow, it's going to take me a day to recover where I wouldn't have had that before.
Yeah. What's your best piece of advice for men who want to be healthier?
Be kind to yourself. That was probably one of the hardest things for me. I talked about it
Mm.
earlier, but coming from a place of negativity and putting yourself down is not going to help you achieve your fitness goals. You can't. I guess for some people it could, but I can't imagine having the success that I've had if I'm sitting here telling myself like, oh, you're fat, you're not good, you can't do these things. Why are you trying? Being kind goes a long way. It's
Yeah.
a mental shift in that sense where you have to learn how to talk to yourself kindly. Something that really helped me that actually I picked up from my wife was, if you wouldn't say it to someone else, why do you say it to yourself?
Mm. Yeah. I won't answer that because my answer wouldn't be kind to myself at all.
It's it's
uh,
it's such a simple phrase, but when you really dissect it and apply it, it's like, wow, I didn't realize I was being so negative all the time.
mm,
And it's a slow process to get to that point, but it's definitely worth it.
yeah. All right. Well, those are all my questions. I think that was a really great interview. Thank you for all that you've done and participated in the Manful Yoga community. It's been an
Hopefully, I'll
inspiration.
be able to jump back in a little more than I have been lately.
Yeah.
My work died down, but
Well, I appreciate what you've been able to do. We appreciate it. So thank you.
no, thank you,
Um,
thank you. I wouldn't be. I know you
yeah,
don't like this kind of stuff, but I wouldn't be where I am without your programs and the community you've built. So, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I hope that episode inspires you. I hope it gives you some useful information and also helps you understand the process of getting healthier and the hurdles to expect along the way. And yeah, I hope this inspires you to be better, man. I'll see you on the next episode.